Hello everyone and welcome to the whatever patch we're in, Tactics Vanguard overview. What are we, patch 6.1.1b maybe? I don't know. I'm just making a guess. But anyway, we haven't done one of these videos for a while. We haven't looked at any of these classes for a good time. So let's have a look at the Tactics Vanguard. We'll start with what's changed. Nothing much really since 5.0. Since the last expansion, we have gained a new ability called Power Yield. So Power Yield is a 1 minute cooldown instant cast ability. Applies a stack of Power Yield to you, which increases your armor by 40% and their damage done by 2% for 10 seconds. Whenever we take damage, we gain an additional stack of Power Yield is applied, and we get a stack of up to 5 times. I'll be honest, it's more useful as a tank than a DPS. It is a defensive and an offensive cooldown, but it is more defensive. I mean, I kind of just stack it in with Battle Focus, because Battle Focus is like a 2 minute cooldown, and that's a 1 minute cooldown. So when you're DPSing, you just use it as an offensive ability rather than the defensive, because again, you're getting the 2% damage done, and you're also getting the 5 stacks of 2% damage as well there. If you're taking damage in certain fights where we used our reactive shield and the reflect back to this comes in handy there, because the more damage that we take. So if we're constantly taking damage, or we can take small amounts of avoidable damage that's manageable, then yeah, Power Yield does have its uses. But yeah, it's available for all specs of Vanguard. That's why I say it's more of a tanky one. But again, it's not too bad an offensive cooldown. We'd rather have it than not have it, to be honest with you. Other than that, our set bonuses are gone. No big, massive auto-crit cell burst now, although we do have other options available. So our big burst has been kind of nerfed, because again, our old 6-piece set bonus prior to that gave you an auto-crit cell burst every minute, basically. There's nothing like that now in the current set bonuses. But anyway, we will take a look, first of all, at the Tactics spec and what it is all about. We mentioned Cell Burst earlier. Cell Burst is what the spec is built around. Again, it unleashes your high energy cells stored energy to decimate the target, and it does decimate the target. As it decimates the target for energy damage. Damage increased based on your current number of energy loads. Energy loads build, and high impact bolt is used up to 4 charges, may be stored at once. It also stacks with our out of combat heal. So we do that, and again, you'll see building stacks. This is our tactical, which we'll talk about later on. So you can see 4 stacks, and then fire it off. We want this to hit for as much as possible. You can see how much the number has increased by. There, you can see how much it increases when we get 4 stacks. So we only want to fire this off at 4 stacks. Other things to note, of course, our gut, again, is a nice little dot that goes on the target. We've got our Tactical Search, which is kind of just our free ability that we press whenever there's nothing else. We've got our Stock Strike. We want to use that on cooldown. Our Assault Plastique is very, very nice. Does quite a lot of damage to the target, and also sunders the target's armor, which is quite nice for us. But yeah, there's nothing really new in this spec. You've got your Shoulder Cannon, which again is more useful, but there's nothing really that new. You do get the free high impact bolt whenever it procs. That's how we generate our energy loads when we are in combat. So we get into combat. We want to always start with 4, obviously, because we are a burst spec. So our burst potential has been limited slightly since the last expansion with the removal of our set bonuses. So set bonus, I have gone for Meteor Brawler, basically because energy management is a bit of a pain in this spec. So this one is quite good for managing energy. The 2-piece is just 2% mastery. The 4-piece, you get the old 4-piece set bonus there of Stock Strike and Shock Strike, which is what you get in Plasma spec. So Stock Strike, energy cells is reduced by 4, which is quite useful again. Tactical Surge and Energy Blast increased damage dealt by 10% for 15 seconds, which is quite nice. Again, Tactical Surge is just generally our sort of go-to when we've got plenty of energy. We generally replace it with Shoulder Cannon when we want to save energy, or if we don't have Shoulder Cannon, Hammer Shot. If again we're low on energy. But yeah, Tactical Surge is what we want to press. Again, it can proc your high impact bolt, so you've always got to be aware of that. Hammer Shot and Shoulder Cannon don't proc that for you. So the tactical that we've gone for, I've gone for Energized Blade. Don't know if it's the best one, but I quite like it. Gaining an energy load stack increases guts bleed damage by 25%, stacks up to 4 times and lasts for 10 seconds. Power is what it says, so you know. Again, gut does a bleed damage as well. You'll see here it does, you know, internal damage over 18 seconds. We can, of course, stack this up out of combat as well, as you can see here. And we'll stack it up to 4 stacks. So if we get up to 4 stacks, you'll see that gut does, you know, double damage over that. And bear in mind, it will always refresh with every high impact bolt. So it is kind of a bit of a fire and forget ability, which I kind of like. Really, it's nothing that really needs managed there. So it increases our dot damage, basically. So we are fully 306 geared. We've got the set bonus piece. Still working on sort of augmenting this character and getting the best in slot tacticals. Or sorry, not tactical, amplifiers. Amplifiers we will move on to now. So amplifiers, what are they? What do they do? They basically give you a bonus. Why that's periodic restoration, I don't know. See, this is what I mean by we need to sort these amplifiers out. Why we want heals over time, I'll never know. Again, they're available in the shell, in the armoring, and the mod. No enhancement ones there for some reason. The mod ones just tend to be crafting. Really should do bioanalysis or biochem with this one, but we don't. So we don't really care about them particularly. What we want as a Vanguard, our best one is Tech Wizardry. Increase the damage dealt by tech attacks. Bear in mind that most of our rotation is tech. Practically all of it is tech attacks. The way to tell a tech attack from the other one's weapon expertise. And why we don't really want weapon expertise is we only have 2 abilities in our entire rotation that do weapon damage. Everything else is tech. High impact bolt and hammer shot. They are the 2 weapon damage abilities. You can see here, fires a series of hammering shots that deal weapon damage to the target, and again here dealing weapon damage to the target. So weapon expertise, not our thing. Tech wizardry is the thing, because gut, assault plastic, tactical surge, stock strike, and cell burst all do tech damage, and all our AoE does tech damage as well, and as does shoulder cannon as well. Does tech damage. Anything that says like kinetic damage, yeah, kinetic damage, energy damage, anything like that is a tech attack. And the way to tell a tech attack is, if we use high impact bolt here, the damage number was white, as you can see here. If we use stock strike, which is a tech attack, damage number is yellow. So all our tech attacks will be yellow, and weapon attacks are white. See, fire a cell burst at them. And dot damage as well, that's a white damage as well. You'll see, sorry, yellow tech damage, so our dots are doing tech. So that's how to tell the difference between a tech attack and a weapon attack. Of course, if we are a force user, we have force and melee attacks. And again, it's the same principle applies. A force attack will always generate yellow damage text, whereas a melee attack will deal white damage numbers. I think it's melee attack. They're called ranged attacks here. We've got ranged and tech our damage. Again, the Vanguard, we don't really worry too much about ranged attacks, as we do mostly tech attacks. Most of our attack, again, the majority of our rotation is going to be these 3 here. We're going to be pressing these two on cooldown. This if we've nothing else to press. High impact bolt is going to be used, so weapon expertise is useful. The other thing is Alpha Strike is quite useful for us as well. Alpha Strike increases damage dealt in the first 10 seconds of combat. We are a burst spec, and we do front load a lot of our damage, so it is helpful to us. The other one is armor penetration. Again, we do sunder the target's armor, so we do sundering attacks to the target. So we do. Our DPS relies on the target's armor being reduced, so armor penetration is always handy. I would go in that order of Tech Wizardry, Alpha Strike, armor penetration as the order, and then I would put weapon expertise / periodic intensity. With this tactical, I would probably rate periodic intensity higher, because again, we're buffing the damage of our guts bleed damage. We have 1 dot essentially in our rotation and 1 weapon damage attack that's rotationally important. Hammer shot's just a filler ability that we don't really care about its damage. So weapon expertise, I would put quite low down. Periodic intensity, it will help, but I would go with that. The rest are all... don't go for force ones, like this one is Tech Wizardry, this one we've got periodic intensity in there, it's only a green one in there, but again, we'd be looking at upgrading that to something, you know, maybe something like Tech Wizardry if we could get that. We've got that one, that's not a bad one. We've got a purple, the barrel that we've got in here, the barrel is Tech Wizardry. Durable equipment, quite useful, really. Equipment loss, durability more slowly, so we can wipe a lot. That's pretty decent. Amplified Champion, Tech Wizardry and Alpha Strike we've got in there for Amplified Champion set. Again, the Tech Wizardry one kind of needs upgrading. It's only a green one, but we've got 1.4 Alpha Strike. Alpha Strike is helpful because we are a burst spec. That was got armor penetration in it. This one is Tech Wizardry. Quite a blue one, so it's not too bad there. Periodic intensity in that one. That one has force sensitivity, which we need to replace. We're going to have to replace that one soon. You could re-roll it, recalibrating it for 20 grand. Honestly, if it's the armoring and the mods, I honestly wouldn't recommend doing this. I mean, we've got 12 million credits, but quite expensive. The better thing to do, you can see here what you can potentially get. Ideally, we would want something like that. The 2% Alpha Strike, or, you know, 2.5% armor penetration. Auto Command is your AoE damage. Auto Command, it depends what you're doing, really, with Auto Command. I always think there is a boss, and most of the time you're going to have to kill the boss. So I don't like AoE for... Auto Command is AoE damage, in case you're wondering. Area of effect attacks. Considering in our single target rotation, we don't really use any AoE abilities for a single target rotation. Force sensitivity is pointless. What we would really like is that one. Tech Wizardry, 1%. Tech Wizardry is what we would like. Weapon expertise is kind of useless. Presence is only useful for soloing. Increases your companion. Med tech, we're not a healer. They're force harmonization, we're not really a healer. And then you've got the things like the reduces damage taken, things like that. I don't really care about that, but I wouldn't bother recalibrating this because it's just the armoring. What I would do is, if you go to the vendor on the fleet and just buy armorings from the vendor for tech fragments. I'll show you my tech fragments here. We're a bit low on tech fragments because I just bought stuff for my what's it called, my commando healer. But yeah, these are legacy wide, and you get quite a lot of these right now. I mean, the biggest challenge in the game is trying not to hit the cap on tech fragments, I always find, and trying to make sure that, you know, they're not going to waste. So I would always say they're only like 175 tech fragments for an armoring, so just buy armorings until you get one that you like. It's way cheaper than just constantly going in there and... Where is that one there? There it is. Than just constantly going in here and recalibrating. It's 20 grand, and it increases potential amplifiers in there. So we want something... Alpha Strike would be quite useful there. Force sensitivity is pointless because We don't do force attacks. But like I said, this character is a work in progress. We have, of course, captor accuracy, of course. Our next most important stat is crit. You want about 40% crit chance. We do very high crit damage, especially our cell burst. Very high crit damage. Alacrity is not a stat that we really want to ignore. We probably want about 8% alacrity just to get things off cooldown, help with our energy regeneration. But crit is generally what you want more of. Accuracy, obviously, to cap. 110, we're slightly over it, but, you know, RNG nature of the game means that we're not really in control. 110.31. It's not quite right, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. Augments are very expensive in this game. Jesus, getting augments is so expensive in this game. I would recommend just using like the 228 augments, or even the blue 276. These are fairly cheap. They're alright. But I would recommend something along those lines just to boost up your accuracy, really. That's really what you want. Put a 228 augment in there. It doesn't show you the augment unless you purchase the thing. So I never really care about the crafting traits, as you can see. This character isn't a crafter, so I don't really care. Well, let's look at what else do we have to discuss about this class. What are the biggest advantages of the large appendage Vanguard? You're not allowed to say big dick on YouTube anymore, because you get... Oh, there we go, we just said it. Anyway, you're not allowed to say that anymore. So yes, she's a female character. Yes, she has a large penis. Is she transgender? Probably. Who knows? She's a Vanguard. She has a large penis. That's the way they are. We charge into the fight and we move around, and that's one of the best things about the Vanguard that you'll notice is this is one of the best classes in terms of its mobility, in terms of a melee DPS. There is even a tactical that can increase the range of Stock Strike to 10 meters. So you can have Stock Strike almost as a ranged ability. That's useful in certain fights, I would say. It is very useful, especially if we can't be at melee range. It gives us that 10 meters of range there, and it gives us just more scope to move around. Should cover the what are these things again called? What are these things called again? I can't remember what they're called. The what were they called again? Utilities. There you go. Had to mouse over it. There you go. Utility. There you go. Utilities panel. There you go. Had to mouse. I forget these things. I quite like Iron Will. I tend to pick that. Reduce the cooldown of Hold the Line. Tenacity by 30 seconds. Hold the Line by 10 seconds. Hold the Line is a godsend of an ability. It's an amazing ability in this game. Again, grants 10 seconds of immunity from all movement impairing effects, knockdowns, physics, and increased movement speed by 30%. Fantastic, especially fights. If you look at the new Flashpoint, what was that one again called? The one on Corellia, that one. I can never remember the name of anything. Operation Meridian or something like that. It's called. You get Malgus with his big knockback. Nothing to us. Means nothing to us with Hold the Line. Anything with knockback, anything with movement impairing abilities, Underlurker hard mode or master mode, whatever the hell it's called now. These things, Hold the Line is a godsend there. Again, I do quite like that. You recharge 20, you've got paralytic combat stims. You recharge 20 energy cells when stunned, immobilized, knocked down, otherwise incapacitated. Additionally, when incapacitated, your next tech ability deals 10% damage or healing. It's not the most useful in PvE. PvP, yes. Because you guarantee you're going to get stunned in PvP, or knocked down or pushed around in PvP. Hold the Line does make us immune to that, so we shouldn't be getting pushed around a lot in PvE. So situationally, it may be useful if there's a scripted stun in a fight. May be useful. What else have we got? Reflective Armor. When Into the Fray is triggered, it also deals... It deals 3,000 elemental damage if the attacker was in 10 meters. Again, useful if we are taking constant damage. It does a nice little DPS boost for us. We haven't selected it because we're kind of doing solo content at the moment on this character, or sort of flashpoints, so we don't really need this. Entangling Tools, more of a PvP ability. Tactical Surge, Ion Pulse. An explosive surge reduces the movement speed of affected targets by 30% for 3 seconds. A neural jolt, which is your taunt, slows the target by 50% for 6 seconds. It's more of a PvP thing, just to put distance between between people. So it's not really social distancing. That's what it is, basically. If you want to put some distance. Increase the range of ion pulse and tactical surge by 2 meters, and the radius of explosive surge by 1 meter. I like this one, muzzle logs. Again, more range equals more DPS. Simple as that, really. It's, you know, if we're out of range, we can't DPS the target. If we're in range, we can DPS the target. So it gives us that extra 2 meters of scope. It's weird that Stock Strike isn't affected by it. It would have been nice to have had the Stock Strike Tactical also affect it. So Stock Strike could be 12 meters as well instead of 10. Because normally it's 4. But that Tactical, it's kind of useful. So you see here, we are, what, 10 meters away. And you can see here 12 meters. So it gives us, you know, we're 11.98, so it gives us a little, you know, say 2 steps worth of range. 9.99. There you go, 11.86. There you go. So it gives you a little bit of scope. It doesn't seem like a lot, that 2 meters, but if you think about it during a boss fight, if you're running towards a target, you know, you get the ability becomes available a lot quicker, you know, rather than getting into 10 meter range. So it is a slight advantage, but it's not. It's something that we want though, because it gives us that more range. Explosive surges range getting increased again helps us out for AoE, and again, sharp satchel explosive surges damage by 25%. We'd probably swap if we were doing a boss fight with no ads. We'd probably swap it for reflective armor. You know, we'd probably swap this over if we were doing a boss fight, but we're not doing boss fights. We're mostly doing questing, daily quests, flashpoints. There's always going to be ads and flashpoints, so we would maybe swap that out for Into the Fray. Better on a single target boss fight than this one. Accelerated reel, harpoon of 10 meters. Again, not useful for us. Harpoon, it's alright. We don't really want to use it in PvE because it's a threat generating ability, but you know, it can be useful in certain situations. If you want to pull an ad off a healer, quite useful there. You can reduce the cooldown of cryo grenade. Containment Tactics, again, is a PvP ability. We've got Electro Shield. When activated, our reactive shield charges with electricity, zapping attackers for elemental damage. When they do direct damage to you, this cannot occur more than once each second. This is what I mean by using that at the pool. And we always just use it in Master Blaster. We'd always stand under Blaster and get trampled, because if you stood under him, you got trampled. And what it would do, you'd be getting trampled, taking damage. You'd have your reactive shield up. You'd get your damage reduction by 25%. You would also get the damage reflected back, and it was a DPS gain. What we can do now in this expansion is stack it with power yield. So this is quite a good thing to stack with power yield, because bear in mind we're getting 2% more damage done whenever we take damage. We'll always gain a 2% damage stack up to 5 times. So that's not bad. It's a 10% damage buff plus that damage. So it makes us want to stand under things. Well, don't do it too often. You don't want to take massive damage. Like, we don't want to be standing in front of a boss when they're doing a conal ability, for example. Don't do that, like Bulow's shotgun, for example. Don't do that. Don't stand in things that are going to get you killed. But minor damage, like the trample ability, you can use that to good effect there. It isn't a nice little DPS gain. Again, we get passive battlefield training, just increases our general movement speed by 15%. Again, movement speed, range equals DPS. Always got to make sure that it's a DPS gain. The quicker we get to the target, okay, yeah, we've got Storm to get to a target. The quicker we get to a target, the quicker we get out of things. And again, the more we can move around, the more damage that we do. That is the key there. We've also gone for frontline defense. Reduces the cooldown by Riot Strike by 2 seconds. Riot Strike is our interrupt. Again, I love to interrupt things. I don't like getting hit by big casts. So again, that's why I picked this ability. Riot Strike by 2 seconds. Damage taken while stunned is reduced by 30% for Shield Specialist. Taking damage, AoE damage is reduced by 30% for plasma and tactics. So again, less AoE damage is good. If we're taking a lot of AoE damage, we're going to take this. If we need to do interrupts, then you're going to take this. This one is probably one of our most important abilities, Sonic Rebounder. Sonic Round protects all friendly targets in the area. If impact is on you, granting Sonic Rebounder, which reflects the next direct single target attack back at the attacker. Very nice DPS gain, especially in a raid environment. Not really the best for what we're doing. You're kind of doing solo quests and flashpoints. It doesn't. The more people that get hit or get affected by it, the more it reflects back. So it tends to only come into its own in raids. It was very good on a fight like the Underlurker was really good. When we all stood together in the cross, and he did his big devastate attack. That was really, really good at reflecting the damage back. Big DPS gain, and it also reduces damage taken, so it comes in quite handy there. Shows you how we set our character up differently for this expansion. Sonic Round is, of course, your AoE taunt or your threat dump if you're not using shield spec. You don't want to AoE taunt things if it was the AoE taunt. But yeah, they changed it to a threat reduction if you're not in tank stance. And of course, we don't have stances anymore. If you're in tactic spec, you're in high energy cell is the stance that you're using. Or the cell, plasma cell was the default. Ion cell is the tank one, and we get a high energy cell for us. So you don't have to worry about being in the wrong cell anymore, because as soon as you go into tactics, it's just a passive ability now, the cell. Other abilities in this one, efficient tools. Adrenaline Rush can be activated by stun. Adrenaline Rush can purge stun effects. Adrenaline Rush is our big sort of defensive cooldown. Gives you free healing when our health is reduced to 35% or less. So Adrenaline Rush will trigger immediately if it's less than that, and again it just heals you up to 35% health. I don't know if it can proc off of things like force harmonization, or no, sorry, it won't proc off that. Medtech, sorry, or anything like that. I don't know if it procs off of that or not. Stuns, which are often used by Flashpoint and operational bosses, or special non-player characters. In addition to efficient tools, increases the range of harpoon. Shoulder cannon by 10 meters. It eliminates the energy cell cost of cryo grenade and neural surge again. Not the best for DPS, to be honest with you. Again, it doesn't work against scripted stuns, so yeah, not very useful for us. Useful in PvP mostly. Again, the range of harpoon getting increased is nice, and the range of shoulder cannon is quite nice for PvP. And again, eliminating the energy cell cost of your taunt and your stun as well, cryo grenade. It's only 5 energy cells though, so whether that's useful in PvP, I'll never know. You've got Paralytic Augs, increases the stun duration of cryo grenade by 1 second. And Neural Surge by 0.5 seconds again. What's Neural Surge? There it is there. That's your AoE stun there. Again, PvP. We very, very, very rarely need to stun anything in PvE, because anything that's a real threat to us, i.e. bosses, are generally not stunnable. So, very, very rare in PvE. You might find it useful on like the Revenite Commanders. You can tell we stopped raiding in 3.0, can't you? Revenite Commanders, for example, might be useful, but it's only one, you know, like a case for it there. Strategic Supremacy. Harpoon immobilizes the target for 3 seconds. In addition to the cooldown, and stealth scan is reduced by 5 seconds. Target reveals immobilized for 3 seconds. Increases the movement speed of all allies in the scan area, excluding yourself, as long as they remain within it for 6 seconds after it expires or they leave the area. Again, yeah, Harpoon immobilizing the target. It's not something we really need in PvE. Again, more of a PvP ability. The stealth scan increasing our movement speed it's alright. I mean, stealth scan is not the best in PvE. Oh, that's a repair droid. That's not our stealth. Where the hell's our stealth scan thing went? I've just summoned the repair. I thought that was stealth scan. Where the hell's stealth scan? There it is. It's that one. There it is. Don't even have it on the bar. Don't do PvP. Drop a stealth scan there. So yeah, stealth scan is kind of useless. I thought that was the stealth scan. There you go. Stealth scan. Not very useful in PvE because it's very rare to be. Yeah, it's more of a PvP thing. But again, situational at best. Smothering Slag. Flak Shell reduces the movement speed of all affected targets 75%. 15 seconds it'll only cut. Again, maybe Revenite Commanders is maybe something we want. Go away, little droid. Go away. You're dismissed. Summoned you instead of doing it. That's how long it's been since we've done serious PvP as a Vanguard. We didn't even have stealth scan on the bar. Yeah, so that one, again, Revenite Commanders maybe. You want to kind of slow them from hunting you down. But yeah, PvP ability. Re-energizes when reserve power cell is activated. It recharges 10 energy cells next 5 seconds and immediately increases threat towards current enemy if ion cell is active or reduces threat. I quite like reserve power cell. Reserve power cell, again, the next ability depletes no energy cells, so it's nice to get the recharge 10 energy cells. I did say that this spec, we really struggle for energy management in this spec. So I quite like that one, just getting the 10 energy cells pretty much instantly, and then we tend to use a channeled ability like Artillery Blitz, just so that our energy passively regenerates over the next few seconds. Increase the duration of Hold the Line by 4 seconds. Again, we said how important Hold the Line is. Again, we don't want to get knockdowns, especially when we get knockdowns and movement impairing effects. There are a lot of them going out. I don't like being knocked around. We are a melee class, and yes, we do have increased mobility. And yeah, if we can storm back to the target, that's great. But it's always nice to have that additional 4 seconds of not being knocked back, because that's the best DPS increase, is not being pushed around. We've also got Guard Cannon. Damaging a target with your shoulder cannon missiles heals you for 3% total health. It's not that useful in a raid environment anymore. We used to combine it with a reactive shield when it was 5% per shoulder cannon hit. We keep it it's alright while you're doing questing though. You can hit the occasional shoulder cannon. It's quite nice. You can have a power focus is probably better. A bit better really for the tank. Power yield increases damage done by 2% when attacked while ion cell is being utilized. It refreshes the duration when attacked when ion cell is not being used. Power yield cannot last longer than 30 seconds. So again, you can just extend your power yield. Extend it up to 30 seconds, which is probably the best one really for raiding in that sense, because it just gives you that extra damage boost, especially again if we're stacking it in with reactive shield and deliberately taking damage to get it up there. That can be useful again because it'll be the 10% damage for 30 seconds there, as opposed to, you know, what is it, 10 seconds? Yeah, 10 seconds. So you get increase the duration of power yield, and you also get the increased survivability as well because you get the 40% armor rating as well, which again make you take less damage. So I'd probably go with that one for raiding. Battering Blitz. Using Storm grants Battering Blitz, resetting the cooldown of Storm and increasing the movement speed by 30% for 6 seconds. Battering Blitz's active Storm may be used once again within 10 meters of the target and deals 50% additional damage, but does not cause additional interrupt, immobilize, or charge. This effect cannot occur. Again, Storm, it's not really useful in PvE, this one. More PvP if you're doing a lot of target swapping. It can be useful just for an extra damage boost, but I don't think it's that useful because there's very few times in PvE that we're going to be targeting, you know, jumping. It's 14-second cooldown, so we're not really going to be jumping between targets that often. In PvE, generally we jump to target and stick with it. But yeah, so you've got Pull and Pummel. Harpoon deals an additional damage. Pull targets, causes next stock strike or shock strike to deal 20% damage. Again, not very useful. It could be alright, useful for soloing maybe if you want to pull something in and hit them with your stock strike and do more damage. But in terms of PvE, we want to avoid using Harpoon. We can't pull a boss in. And we don't want to use a threat generator on a boss, generally, because it does generate a high amount of threat here. It's not advisable. It is useful. Harpoon, like again, we say if an ad is attacking a healer or something like that, and you want to pull the ad off the healer, Harpoon is useful. It does have its situational uses for a non-tank Vanguard in PvE. But yeah, PvP might be useful again if you want to pull the target in and smack the target in the face with your gun. Nice. Charge the line, hold the line, increases movement speed by an additional 45%. I'd probably take this one as well. I'd probably look at taking this one. Again, if our movement's being impaired, like Underlurker, you have to get behind the rocks. You know, in a certain time, you would rather have that over the 4-second duration. If you're getting a lot of knockbacks, use the advance the line. If you need to be in a certain position, charge the line is better, because it's better to have the movement speed increase rather than the duration increase there. Because getting there quicker means that you'll just be standing still when you get there. So hopefully you won't get knocked around too much. I don't know the existing raids. The two new raids have not done, because we stopped raiding at the end of 4.0 essentially, when they didn't add any new raids. You've got aim extensions. Battle focus grants aim extension, increasing the range of ion pulse, tactical surge, flak shell, artillery blitz, basically everything that we do. Cell burst, plasma flare, plasmatize by 20 meters. Again, battle focus just doesn't last long enough to get the best out of this for me. Battle focus we tend to use at the start of the fight, and we're always in at the boss at the start of the fight, and most bosses don't really have AoE at the start of the fight that we have to move out of. So I think situationally it may be a benefit. Bear in mind this is a 2-minute cooldown battle focus, so I wouldn't be overly concerned with taking this one. I would rather have the range extended by 2 meters permanently, and if you really are struggling for range, there is a tactical that makes Stock Strike, gives Stock Strike a 10-meter range. So fights like the walkers, for example, is one where you'd maybe want that, because you have to be at range for a certain amount of time, so you could use your whole rotation at range effectively, because we're not going to be we refresh guts bleed effect with high impact bolt. So high impact bolt is what, 30 meters, 10 meters anyway. What is 30 meters? That's salt plastics 30 meters. So yeah, so we've got 10 meters on high impact bolt anyway, so we can use Stock Strike at 10 meters as well. It gives us our whole rotation at 10 meters. So yeah, I wouldn't really go for that one when doing this. Let's get to the important rotation. Bear in mind our priority is always going to be generate a load. So start the fight, get these two stacking up nicely, energized blade and the energy loads up. So we want to start with them. So we want to go in, get our dot up. This is the annoying thing when you're waiting for a pull, like you have to sit and do this all the time. Like, so that it keeps your charger like, come on, hurry up, pull the boss, hurry up, pull the boss, pull. And there's like a ready check, you're sitting there like that going, like this, you spend your whole time doing handstands. What the hell are you doing? It's like, I'm trying to keep my energized blade up here. Let's charge in with Storm. We want to get our Salt Plastique up, we want to get our Stock Strike off, we want to get our Tactical Surge off, and then we want to hit our Cell Burst, spend that, we've let it go again. Right, so let's get in there before this wears off. It's annoying it's only 10 seconds. Increase this to 20 seconds, just for my sanity. So get in there, fire that off, get your gut up. Stock Strike to single the target. Wait for that to blow up. Big Cell Burst. And then we want to go High Impact Bolt. Generally we'll have our shoulder missiles, and then it's just a case of filling in with this thing. Use Stock Strike on cooldown. Fill in. Fire that off. Separate your abilities with that. One of them. Another energy load. Fire that off. And again, we don't really need to refresh the bleed damage, because we can just refresh it with this again, which just keeps our bleed damage ticking away there with High Impact Bolt. We want to keep the target sundered and reduce its armor rating. We also want to keep it susceptible, which is Assault Plastics Explosion, which will refresh. Susceptible, so we want to keep that debuff on it, and of course the dot. We want to keep our dot on it with the 4 stacks. So it's quite a simple rotation, really. These 3 you're going to press. Again, Assault Plastique is a priority. Stock Strike. High Impact Bolt if it's procced and you don't have 4 stacks of energy load. is number 1 priority, is get stacks of energy load. Cell burst if it's available at 4 stacks, press it. So basically that is it really. Fairly simplistic. Our AoE rotation is fairly simple. Now there is a tactical available that lets us spread our assault plastique. Basically put our assault plastique up on a target and then use ion wave. It will spread our assault plastique to all the targets that ion wave hits. So you want to do that, assault plastique, ion wave, weave that into your AoE rotation. It's fairly straightforward. Use your artillery blitz, which can be used while moving, black shell, and then you can use your what's it called, ion wave. And then really just for filler, it is your explosive surge for filler. There, the cooldown of this artillery blitz is quite good actually. It's only 30, it's only 14 seconds on artillery blitz. Flak shell isn't too bad, 8 seconds as well, so we can keep AoE up. It's not the best spec for AoE, tends to be very energy intensive, especially for spamming explosive surge. You saw how low our energy went there. So for spamming that, again, it's something that we want to be aware of. I prefer plasma for AoE, to be honest. You can take that, again, there is a tactical that will allow your assault plastique to be AoE, an AoE ability, but I wouldn't pick that for a boss fight unless there's like 2 bosses close together that you want to spread your assault plastique to, or a boss with a lot of adds. So we want to be able to hit our ion wave because it's only got a 10-meter radius. That's our ion wave, and it will again spread our assault. So you stick your assault plastique on and then hit ion wave, and it will spread your assault plastique to other characters, and it'll explode on the other. Should explode on the others. It's picked up to 8 targets, but it's all right for flashpoints. But I always like to do damage on the boss. There's always going to be a boss. The bosses have enrage timers, hence why I took a single target ability. You can, if you want, as well in your AoE rotation, if you've still got the stacks. Gut everything, if you want. If you really want, it's very energy intensive. You can literally run around like a crazy woman stabbing people. Just run around like, ah! Next one, ah, next one, ah, next one. You know, you can do that if you want, and do target changes and run around stabbing folk randomly if you want to be a crazy gutting person. You know, should have played an operative really if you wanted to run around stabbing folk like that. But anyway, that is all for this video, so thank you for joining me. We did go a bit more in depth than we normally would, but you know, again, I don't know what the best tactical is, to be honest with you. I like that one with the guts bleed damage because I can just keep refreshing it, and it's more of a fire and forget thing. And again, I like single target. I like Meteor Brawler. We forgot to explain that, actually, didn't we? Forget that. Yeah, we forgot to do the 6-piece, didn't we? So the 6-piece, basically activating Battle Focus, grants us Ion Fall for the duration of Battle Focus. During this time, dealing damage with Ion Wave, Ion Pulse, Tactical Surge, Stock Strike, Shock Strike, Artillery, basically any of our normal abilities. Any of our sort of normal rotation will build stacks of Ion Fall up to 7. Battle Focus ends, it detonates, dealing elemental damage to all enemies around you. It scales with Ion Fall stacks. After Ion Fall explodes, your abilities cost 50% less energy. That's the key there, for 20 seconds. So that's why I picked this spec. That's why I went for this one. Because it has, again, it has the energy management. You know, you get the reduced energy cost of Stock Strike, and of course you get the 50% less energy, so it basically builds up and you explode. If you want to see what that looks like, I will show you in both of these. We should have put both of them up when we did our demonstration. I forgot to put the load stacks up, but it doesn't really matter because we're just gonna, let's see, 5, 6, 7 stacks, wait for it to end, and we'll explode in a big explosion. There you go. And now our abilities cost less energy. So you've got, what's it called? Free Fall here. Reduces energy cost on all abilities by 50%. So that's why I like that one. That's why I like it. Just because it gives us less energy cost for our abilities. Because you find energy management is kind of difficult. Pad out your abilities with Shoulder Cannon. And with Shoulder Cannons on cooldown, use Hammer Shot to pad them out. So do like Tactical Surge, Hammer Shot, Stock Strike, Hammer Shot, and then Assault Plastiques off cooldown, Assault Plastique. Yeah, and bear in mind, a High Impact Bolt will refund the percentage of your no, in fact, it refunds its energy cost, high impact bolt. There when you use it while procced. So there we go. That is all for this video. We'll take a look at the healer commando next. We did a video on that earlier, and we looked at that. We looked at the healer commando. I don't like the DPS commando. Really, if you're picking a trooper, pick the Vanguard. That's my advice. But anyway, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again soon. And goodbye.